In Korea, there are places where new moms basically check into a hotel right after giving birth. Not a spa weekend, not a luxury vacation. I mean, someone cooks for you, helps with the baby, teaches you newborn care, and lets you sleep while your body is still bleeding and recovering from childbirth. And it's only natural to wonder, how much does that cost? Today, I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to break down what Korean postpartum care centers actually include, what the average cost is in Seoul, and what an equivalent level of care would cost here in Manhattan. We're going to talk about money a lot, but the deeper point of this video isn't the money. Because there's one thing these places give new moms that you can't really put a price on. And I think it's the real reason so many women choose to go there. And the interesting part is, you do not need to live in Korea or spend thousands of dollars to get it. I'm a Korean medicine doctor who understands Korean postpartum care from the inside out, and also a medical anthropologist who spends a lot of time thinking about how different cultures approach childbirth, recovery, and motherhood. But more importantly for this conversation, I'm also a mom who gave birth twice in Manhattan with no family nearby. So this is not me romanticizing Korea from a distance. So first, what exactly is a Korean postpartum care center? In Korean, they're called Sanhujoriwon, or Joriwon in short. It's like checking into a hotel with a newborn right after giving birth, except the entire place is designed to solely help you recover. Now, the ones you see online are often the luxury versions, but most are not like that. There is actually a huge range. Some are simple, some are extremely luxurious, some feel almost like home, while others feel nothing like home, whatever that means. So for this video, I'm going to use the average cost in Seoul, not the influencer version. According to Korean government data, the average cost for a standard 2-week stay at a postpartum center in Seoul is around $3,700. And the 2 weeks is just the standard stay these facilities price around because it's the most intense time after birth. Your uterus is contracting, you're bleeding, your hormones are dropping, barely sleeping. Everything hurts. But not everything is about you. You're trying to establish your baby's feeding and sleeping patterns during this crucial time. In Korean culture, that window is treated very seriously. So, what do you actually get for $3,700? First, accommodation and meals. You stay in a private room with your baby, and meals are brought to you. Food is a huge part of Korean postpartum culture, and the meals are specifically prepared for postpartum recovery. And for your partner, they can usually stay without an extra fee. Then, there's newborn care. This is the part people react to the most. There is a nursery staffed around the clock, and the staff takes care of the baby between feedings so the mom can actually rest. And no, this doesn't mean they force you to separate from your baby. A lot of people misunderstand that part. You can keep the baby with you as much as you want. The point is support, not separation. Then there is postpartum massage. Usually a few sessions are included in the basic package, and you can always add more for extra charge. And finally, there's the hands-on education, which is especially helpful for terrified first-time parents. You know, at hospital discharge, you suddenly have this tiny human in your arms and you're thinking, wait, they're just letting us take this baby home without teaching us anything? Yeah, I remember that feeling. So, the postpartum centers teach you all the basics. How you bathe the baby, how to burp them, how to breastfeed, how to interpret diaper output, what to do when the baby spits up and you're sitting there completely clueless. And your partner learns too. The goal isn't just the information, it's repetition, muscle memory, confidence to take home with. By the time you leave, you've already practiced these things over and over with guidance nearby. Let's talk about Manhattan. It's a little tricky because in Korea, it's one integrated system. In Manhattan, their services would map onto several different roles. So, it becomes a patchwork. You'd probably combine a night nurse or a newborn care specialist, postpartum doula, meal delivery, lactation support, a few sessions of postpartum massage. And the truth is, most people are not hiring all of this at the same time, partly because the roles overlap, but also because where are you going to even put all these people in a small Manhattan apartment? So I tried to build the most realistic middle ground scenario. Not a billionaire option, not doing everything alone option either. Just enough help that a postpartum mom could realistically recover and survive those first 2 weeks. So, what would it cost to piece together the same level of care a la carte in Manhattan? By the way, I updated the numbers because my own references were from pre-COVID. I cross-checked agency pricing, local mom discussions, and community recommendations. Obviously, prices vary widely depending on the experience and the credentials of the person, but these numbers felt like the realistic middle range. So first, overnight newborn help. Usually called a night nurse, even though most are not technically nurses. You're looking at around $45 to $55 an hour, and most families book somewhere between 8 to 12 hours overnight, so let's say 10 hours a night for 2 weeks. That alone comes out roughly to $6,000 to $8,000. Okay, that already more than the average price of Seoul postpartum centers. Second, daytime help. Maybe a postpartum doula helping with meals, breastfeeding support, light housework. That can easily run a few $100s a day. If you only hire weekday support for 2 weeks, you're still probably looking somewhere around $3,000 to $6,000. Now, could you reduce costs? Of course. A lot of families do. You skip hired daytime help, order groceries online, rely on your partner, maybe ask family to help out. That's what people do. And even then, you're still spending money on food, delivery, and supplies. And that's before postpartum massage, lactation consults, or any additional help. So, realistically, recreating something vaguely similar in Manhattan probably lands somewhere between $8,000 and $16,000 for 2 weeks. And honestly, that number isn't even the whole story. You are coordinating all of it yourself. You're researching people, scheduling interviews, comparing agencies, managing calendars, letting strangers into your apartment, trying to figure out who does what, while sleep deprived, bleeding, recovering, and trying to keep the newborn alive. That's the real labor. Anyways, the bottom line is that even the minimum price in Manhattan costs more than twice the Seoul's average. The ultra high-end centers exist in Seoul too. Some cost well over $30,000 for 2 weeks, but those prices are excluded from the statistics because they are considered VIP tier, not standard pricing. So, $3,700. Sounds like a bargain compared to Manhattan. But the truth is, even in Korea, it's not cheap at all. It's actually more than the average monthly salary for wage workers. It's a major financial decision for Korean families too. But still, more than 80% of new mothers go there, even though they can save a lot of money if they just use the home visit program, which the government subsidizes. Why the majority of people still choose the postpartum center and spend a month's salary just for 2 weeks? Why? What makes it so worth the money? Please like my video and let's talk about the reason behind it. Oh my gosh, you still didn't click it? Obviously, it's super convenient to have everything offered in one place. But that's not all. A postpartum center solves something bigger than physical recovery. There is value that never appears on the invoice, but it's a huge part of why people choose it. Let me start by talking about how modern parenting has become deeply isolated, especially in cities. People live far from family, couples are raising children without grandparents nearby, friends are busy, everyone is overwhelmed. And postpartum centers create community. The moms you meet there become your parenting community. Your babies go through milestones together. You panic about the same things at the same time. And those group chats continue long after everyone leaves. It's always flooded with talks like this. What sleep are you using? Did your baby start teething yet? Wait, my little one just got this rash. Is this normal? Hey guys, what preschool are you looking at? And honestly, those conversations go on for years. Years. The night nurse finishes her contract and moves on, but the moms you meet during that phase, they can become lifelong friendships. And this is the part I wish people would understand when they look at Korean postpartum culture. The real luxury is not the hotel room. It's the feeling that you're not alone. I realized this very clearly after having my first baby in Manhattan. I didn't have family nearby, but somehow, by pure luck, there were a lot of babies born around the same time in my apartment building. And the building had a playroom. So we kept running into each other constantly. We didn't have to schedule play dates. Someone was always there. And because our kids were around the same age, we were all going through the same chaos at roughly the same time. We traded information constantly about sleep, solids, feeding, strollers, toys, books, tantrums. But honestly, the information wasn't even the most important. It was the emotional survival. I remember conversations like, "I'm so overwhelmed. My baby screamed for 3 hours. He threw the entire bowl of puree onto the floor and I just sat there looking at it." And when another exhausted parent says, "Oh my gosh, that was me last week." Parenting is an unrelenting series of overwhelming moments. But when you're sharing them with someone who is in the exact same situation, something changes. You feel less crazy, you laugh, you learn, you keep going. It's something your partner or mom simply can't replace. This is why I don't think postpartum recovery can be reduced to just a physical recovery. Because one of the biggest dangers after birth is isolation. But it doesn't come immediately after birth. Usually later, a few weeks in, a couple months in, when everyone leaves and real parenting begins. And the thought that destroys people is often, why am I the only one struggling like this? That's why community matters so much. Sometimes hearing another parent say, "My baby does that too, and it's driving me crazy," is more emotionally regulating than anything money can buy. And the funny part is, it's from a random person you met for the first time in the grocery store's checkout line. So, if you don't have a built-in system creating these connections for you, how do you build one? A few things I learned. First, timing is everything. It's much easier to build these relationships before the baby arrives. Once you're postpartum and exhausted, starting new social relations from scratch, especially in the first month, feels overwhelming and almost impossible. So, during pregnancy, look for local mom groups, prenatal classes, neighborhood parenting communities, online groups for expecting moms nearby. But don't worry if you're starting after the baby is born. It's never late. Once you can get the baby into a stroller and get yourself out of the house, you're good. Just remember the second tip. Second, make a routine. Whether you go to the library, playground, or baby classes, make a routine to visit the place consistently around the same time. You'll naturally start figuring out a rhythm between feedings and naps. If you don't find anyone during your baby's morning playtime, try in the afternoon. Show up in the same playground over and over. Find your cohort. They're out there. The magic isn't really the venue. It's seeing the same people over and over again. That's how familiarity turns into friendship. Last but not least, third, keep healthy boundaries. Because parenting relationships can get emotionally intense really fast. You can become incredibly close to someone simply because your kids are the same age and both of you are overwhelmed. And that connection is beautiful. But when the boundary blurs, the relationship can become another source of stress instead of support. I'll be loud and clear. Comparison can become very toxic. Comparing developmental milestones until you spiral into anxiety. Oversharing until you feel exposed and judged. None of that serves you. Keep it warm, keep it real, and keep just enough distance to keep the relationship healthy. At the end of the day, Korean postpartum centers are expensive because they provide great services, but it also gives people something deeply comforting. The feeling that they're not alone. Some people pay just for that, because the sense of connection can matter even more than the actual services. And that sense of security really helps during the hardest transition into parenthood. The good news for you guys, the sense of connection, sense of security, that part, you can actually build yourself. Even outside of Korea, even without spending thousands of dollars. I think no one ever sees that because they're focused on the material aspect of Korean postpartum center. But in fact, there is a lot of mingling, community building, and solidarity happening behind the scenes. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to talk about a postpartum practice that almost every culture believes in except America. Every culture has a special name for it. 坐月子 in China, sutak in India, la cuarentena in Latin America, resguardo in Brazil, omuguo in Nigeria, although some parts of Africa have different names, and pantang in Malay culture and al-taksan in Morocco. Again, there's different versions of it throughout the Middle East as well. Let's talk about the seemingly universal rules of postpartum recovery, which Americans don't know about. And let's find out whether America should embrace it or not. Please subscribe to my channel so you can be the first one to watch it as soon as it's out. And I'll see you in the next video.